Well, hello. Welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, and I'm here to show you today I received some inks, 3 different kinds, from Stuart Superior. I received to try out the memory inks. I received the dye ink. Don't know how well you'll be able to see that. The palette hybrid ink and Memories pigment ink. These are all re-inkers, so if you're a crafter and you use ink pads and you have re-inkers, you'll be able to do the same thing. And what we're going to do is I burn this board and I put a gradient on it, and I'm going to seal 1/3 of it, apply ink through the whole thing, and then seal the bottom 2 so we can see what 3 different types of base layers will look like if you use ink on birch. And then I will probably actually do a light fast test with these sitting in my window for a couple of months and see what happens. So we are going to start with the top, which is the dye inks. I've got those separated out. I don't know how well you can see that. And I'm using a white tile. Let's see if I can get it on the screen. From Home Depot as a palette. And we're going to try out these 2 brushes and see how well they work. Now, when we're going over what's sealed, it will take less ink. Where it's not sealed, it's going to take more. Now where it's sealed, you could also use Q-tips and sponges to apply. It is a little streaky with the brush. It says on their website that these inks, actually all of them, should be heat set, so we'll do that as well. So you can see it's smoother where it's sealed, and you can see the grain more, of course, where it's not sealed. Let me see here. Here it is actually kind of bleeding a little bit. Right here. Right here, there I went over the wood, or over the burn line. Yep, that really traveled. That's why the burning is so important. There, I did not go over the burning, but because the burning's not deep enough, it did travel. So if you notice where we sealed, it did not travel at all on either color. Did not travel. Again, I went over on that part, so that's my bad. But there should also be some sealant there, so it's not traveling. Where there is no sealant, even though it's burned, we have travel. So I would say, depending on the look you're going for, if you want to be able to blend easier and not have travel, seal. But if you notice where it is not sealed, we get beautiful wood grain, whereas here we don't. This really highlights it. And you could actually do both. Seal where you want it smooth, and then leave the rest raw wood, and you would have both these looks. So we're going to keep going. I'm probably going to start speeding through because these are a lot of colors to go through. On to the next one. Well, on the sealed part, it's a very low pigment. You might have to do a couple layers drying in between to build this one up. Now remember, your colors are going to be different on wood because of the color of the wood. So if you're using a very, very light wood, almost white, you're going to get closer in color. The more yellow it is, the more, with like purple, it's going to gray out. And because these are dyes, they are transparent, meaning we can see our burning underneath. It is traveling where it's not sealed. And the inks where it's not sealed are acting more like a stain. It's staining the wood. Okay. So lavender, and this is another reason why I'm swatching, is if you look in the bottle, there we go, it looks like it's a dark color. But once it's out, you can see it's not. So that's why it's important to swatch your colors. And where it's sealed, the lavender almost, once dried, seemed to go away. Wow. Okay. Well, now we're on to teal. It's not exactly teal anymore because of the wood. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Now, remember with the unsealed wood, tape is not going to keep the ink from traveling. Oh, this is a beautiful blue. Wow, let's see what it does. And now remember, we're also going to be sealing a part of the unsealed wood, the raw wood, on top of the color, and that's going to change how it looks as well. That is a beautiful blue. And see this line right here? That's where the burning is. So it just shows you even where there's raw wood. I guess it kind of protects the wood. Alright. Because of the, there we go. So that better. Big difference between the two blues, huh? As you can see, undiluted India ink is not really transparent. They don't believe it's meant to be. So, okay. Now we get a really deep black on the sealed. So our first set of colors. Again, these were the dye inks. We're going to move on to the hybrids. Now, from what I understand, the hybrids are both a mix of dye and pigment. I will have to... I did a bunch of research a little while back, but I'm still not completely clear, so I might have to contact them, and any updated information will be down in the description. Does not seem to be traveling like the dye inks did. There's a little bit at the top under hybrid, but not like the dye. Okay. We really had a color shift between the sealed and the raw wood. Look at that. Both are pretty though. We seem to have a more even coverage when it first lays down compared to what the dyes did. We have less traveling, just a little bit right there. And again, very little traveling for any of these. I mean, there is a little bit more than there was, but not like the dye inks. The inks will also look different depending on how you've sanded it, how you've sanded your wood. This was sanded to 400, so it's a little bit rougher because I did it by hand. Had I used an electric hand sander, the grain would be much smoother. Though in doing so, there's a good possibility, because the grain is smoother, that on the raw wood, the color won't be as strong. I'm doing these swatches because it would have been devastating to be working on an actual piece and find out the hard way. So we both learned. I mixed some alcohol in the brush, and look at that. Big difference. I'm going to go back and try reactivating the Prussian blue over here on the sealed side and see what happens. It lifts it, but does not smooth it out. Well, let's say I messed that up. We've got the palette inks here, the hybrids, and the dye here. The hybrid actually traveled, though there is a little bit of traveling, it is less than what we were getting with the dyes. So what I can see, though I can still see the burn, it is coming through, but not as dark in the other ones. Show another pink. Though this was burned darker, but you can definitely tell the difference for the burning. And on the sealed side, you need to be careful on how smooth brush strokes are. At least one thing I'm noticing is the ink is not traveling. So that's definitely a trade-off, but it leaves a milky coat on the burning. Heat setting's supposed to make it permanent, and we'll find that out when we go to seal. Yeah, these pigment paints don't like the sealer or the burning. These might apply better with the sponge. Yeah, I'm just really not liking the pigment inks for this use. I'm sure it'd be great for other uses, just not this one. Okay, so those are the pigment inks. Not as bright. Definitely cover up the burning, especially when you compare it to our other inks. Out of all of them, I actually think the hybrid, especially once I realized that they were alcohol based, I think the palette hybrids did the best. Now for the pigment, if you don't care about covering up your burning, then go for it. You still can see, depending on the color, a tad bit of grain. Not like you can in the hybrid or the dye ink. It does streak on a sealed surface, so you would have to find what works best for you, whether it's a sponge or a blender tool if you're a card maker, and see if that works better. The dyes travel, so you'd have to have a deeper burning to have that not happen, which I think would be great for backgrounds. And I noticed that the dyes are the most transparent out of the three, and then we have a little bit of coverage with the hybrid and quite a bit of coverage with the pigment. In fact, I don't know that I would use any of the pigment over a burning, other than the bullseye and plum, and maybe the Madonna blue, for maybe, I don't know, maybe for flowers, if that works for you, but I can't really think of anything that I would use the pigments on at this moment, other than maybe a background, because you could lay the ink down and then sand to kind of distress it and age it if you wanted to. But looking at it overall, if I was asked which ones out of the three would be the best. I would probably go with the hybrid because I didn't have so much of a traveling issue as I did with the dyes. Though brightness wise, I would say the dyes are the brightest, at least based on the colors that I have. So this is the final 2 coats on 2/3 of our swatch chart, and I learned quite a bit from this. On my second coat, I still had more of the yellow dye come off the board, even though this was heat set. Definitely the biggest and easiest solution to this is if you're doing a piece and you're using these colors, when you go to seal, do a full thin coat of, I would say at least 2 layers of spray seal, and then you can go back and do your brush on varnish of, you know, your choosing. But I think that will be the best way to protect your colors in your piece and keep things from blending. And because I've got it on both sides of the yellow, by the time I was done I had quite a bit of purple and blue on my brush that I was varnishing with. The spray varnish will be your best bet to resolve that issue, and you can lightly sand in between those layers as well. So if you have any kind of roughness that you don't want in your final varnish, lightly sand and then spray again, and you won't have the issue of any of the inks spreading into another color or just an area that you don't want the ink in. Overall, I think the hybrid did the best. I think that's the best result. The pigment, I'm sure I can find something to use it with, but right now I would not use it for my methods, and the dye ink would be my second. I'm going to put some tape in a couple different areas on each section and throw this up in the window for 6 months and see what happens, because again, remember the very top here is not sealed, so we'll see if with varnish, without varnish, what do these inks do, and I'll do a very quick follow-up video on that so we can just see the results. There is one note that I went to put out there. I contacted the company. None of these inks are alcohol based. I know throughout the whole video I go back and forth with the, you know, very loose term alcohol or water based. None of the 3 products here are alcohol based. The company stated that they are a mild solvent base. That way it can work on multiple surfaces, wood, fabric, paper, I believe it even has listed metal and glass. So these are not alcohol based, though as you can see in the video, they do respond to not only alcohol, but because the ink bled, they also react to, at least the dyes do the most, to the varnish, which my varnish is water based. So I don't know if that makes things easier or harder. These are not alcohol based. Again, I said that throughout the video. That is incorrect. I just want to make sure you have the best information. They are a mild solvent, and they did not tell me what the solvent base is. Okay, with now the 2 coats of the varnish on, I think the colors look beautiful on the wood. I do think there is things we need to watch out for when using them, and swatching out whatever color media you're going to use with your burning is always a very good idea, especially if you've never used that media before. It allows you to see your colors true as to the wood that you'll be using, how they react with the wood, any color shifts, and any bleeding or traveling across the board they may do. In doing that, you won't ruin a piece that you've worked so hard on burning and feeling that devastating emotion of the only burning the piece should have now is in the fireplace, because it just did not come out the way you wanted it to. In doing the swatch, it gives you a lot of information. Now I know what I would use, what I wouldn't use, how I would varnish it, how I would apply it, and that is valuable information. And I do hope that you take the time to swatch out your colors on your wood and going through the whole process as you would a finished piece of art to ensure you have the best results that you're looking for. I want to thank Stuart Superior for sending me the pigment, Memories pigment, the Memories palette hybrid, and the Memories dye ink. Don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're new here, hit subscribe. Our community is growing and it's just wonderful, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And don't forget to comment and let me know what you would like to see in future videos. If you have any questions about what you saw in this video, or you just want to say hi, I really like getting all your comments. It makes me smile. And don't forget to share. Thanks guys. Happy burning. Bye.